Hey, this is Doug from the Darksliders podcast. This is going to continue our little experiment where we're splitting up our podcasts in little bits and pieces and continuing our shorts where we just sort of talk about one game, not really reviewing it. Sometimes we haven't finished the game or sometimes we only played bits and pieces. So this is going to be our talk about ICO, which is a game that Brad had just played for the first time recently, and it was a game that I I really like in some aspects and didn't like so much in others. So why don't you give a listen? So Brad actually played a game that I sort of mixed opinions on. But Brad, you played ICO or
Yes, I
Eco,
did.
Eco maybe. I think it's Eco. So yeah, what are your thoughts on Eco? You played the PS3 version, correct?
Yeah, I played the PS3 remake, remaster, whatever it is. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I started playing this like 3 days ago because everybody was so excited about The Last Guardian, and to this day I still don't quite understand. Like, it looks really cool, but I don't get it. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like, I look at it and I go, "Oh, looks interesting." I don't understand why this is like the greatest thing in the world, though. And I
I can
realized
understand it. Yeah.
I never played ICO or Eco or whatever it is, and I only played maybe like 3 hours of Shadow of the Colossus. So I'm thinking that's probably why. So I was like, well,
Yeah.
I have these. I think they were like on a PS Plus sale a year or so
Mm-hmm.
ago. So I bought them at some point. But I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. And yeah, this feels like a PS2 game.
Yeah, ICO was like a early PS2 game.
Yeah,
Like this is like when
very
they
early.
yeah, like when PS2 had like blue discs, like it didn't even move to DVDs yet.
Yep.
Like this is one of those games. Yeah, yeah. Okay?
So
Besides the PS2-ness of it, how do you feel about the game?
so I'm not quite done with it. I think I'm maybe like I kind of told you where I was. I think maybe like 45 minutes from the end,
Yeah, you're more than
give or
that,
take a
but
bit.
you're like 2/3 of the way, I think.
Yeah. So this is a really weird game. Like, I don't know how I feel about it, and that's kind of this feeling that I have. Like, I it's interesting, and I like how different it is, but at the same time, I kind of find myself starting to get bored with it pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's true. I won't say that it's not a boring game because it definitely is. I think it's because I think a lot of things that it did when it did it back in the day were really really interesting because I think now because of games like Journey or Limbo or even Braid, we're kind of used to games that can be quiet but interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that just because we've had like 8 years to sort of perfect that sort of how we can make a quiet game still feel interesting and still feel fresh. I mean this is like the precursor to all those.
See,
So
and that
there,
was kind of my thought playing
yeah.
this too. Is like it almost feels like playing the original version of Journey, of Flower, of
Hmm.
all those games you listed. And this seems like the game that was almost like the okay, we're gonna try something new here and see what happens.
Yeah.
And it definitely, because it has qualities from all those games, and you can see, like, if you were to play Journey and play this, you could see, okay, I understand how this game influenced Journey
Yeah.
very, very easily. But I think it just, again, it's kind of that early PS2 stuff, so the controls, like, three-dimensional wise and, like, jump mechanics and things like that are all kinds of wonky.
Yeah, they're kind of
And,
garbagey.
but, I mean, that's every early PS2 game.
Yeah.
And just, some of the looks obviously aren't the best, but you can definitely see, okay, just the mood and the tone and this idea of, so the whole game you're basically dragging this princess around trying to get out of the castle. And that was the thing that I really liked, is this is one of the few games I've ever sat down and played where it actually feels like, no, my goal is to get this person out of this place. Because I feel like
Hmm.
that's kind of a very cliche or common theme that runs through games. And this is the first one I've played where it actually feels like that is my goal, because there's really nothing going on except figuring out how to get out of this place.
Yeah, it's kind of like Mario. It's like your goal is to save the princess, but it's not really. Your goal is to get their level. Your goal is to kill that one Goomba.
Yep.
Your goal is like
Yeah.
constantly changing that game, like to get to that platform. But like in this one, it's like, no, there is like a certain desperation to it of like just trying to get out of this castle.
Hmm.
That I, yeah. How do you feel? I don't know. Besides, I don't want to talk about like the puzzle aspect and stuff because I do feel like a lot of the gameplay itself is outdated.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about like the story and the tone, particularly?
I mean, again, it's very minimalist, which I think kind of goes with Limbo, Braid, and that
Hmm.
whole set of games now that is huge at this point and just didn't really exist back then.
Hmm.
I really like it, and I think that it's set very well. There's very, again, to the point where I'm at, limited amount of cutscenes. I mean, very little explanation of what's going on, which I always like that too, where it's kind of more of a just kind of discover this as opposed to just a here's a flat out what's going on.
Oh, I just realized something. Do you know why he's? Because I just realized in the manual they explain why he's going to the castle. Like you actually have to read. I remember having to read the manual to explain why he's going to the castle. Do they ever explain in game like why he's going there in the first place?
Well, the opening cutscene is you get like thrown into like that little green thing,
Yeah, but you
and
know like
then
why he's getting thrown in there or not? Or not?
nope. I just know that he got thrown in there, and then now you're rescuing the princess.
Oh,
And
that's really
doesn't it
interesting.
have something to do with his horns on his head or something? Because they
Yeah, yeah,
keep making
yeah.
reference to that.
Yeah, I guess I just realized because like that paragraph in which they actually set up the game is actually in the manual. Even there's probably a manual you can find like on the disc somewhere, but it's kind of important. But the whole concept is like this village has this curse. They think there's a curse on it, and every once in a while, a child will be born with horns, and then when they turn 12, they take him to this castle to basically leave him to starve to death.
Oh,
So when he gets
yeah,
put
that
in
kind of.
the yeah, so when he gets put in that green chamber to begin with, you see that there's like a whole host of green chambers.
Yeah,
So they've been
which
doing
would
this
be
for like
all the
hundreds
other.
of years.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that would have been helpful to know.
So that's the thing. I thought that I love the kind of like yeah. I guess you wouldn't really know that unless you read it. But that's the kind of thing I really liked about the game. I really like the tone a lot because it's very um, empty. Like I
Yes.
feel like you never really feel safe.
Hmm.
I like that. I like that it is like a single place too. I thought that was kind of cool. Like it's kind of like the Resident Evil 1 mansion. Like you're just at this castle.
Yeah, and it kind of. I mean, and you loop back through a couple places at different times too, and
Hmm.
yeah. I don't know. I'm curious just to see the end of it, just to see kind of what ends up happening with it. But it's a very interesting game, and having played that now, and the little bit I've played of Shadow of the Colossus, it totally makes me understand why people are so pumped about The Last Guardian.
Yeah,
Because just to see the more modern take on that, now seeing what other companies have kind of gone off of this formula with, to kind of
mhm.
see it come back like full circle. Okay, these are the guys who kind of. I'm sure there were games before this that did this, but
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of, I feel like, one of the more of the early games where it's just, okay, we're going to be quiet. We're just going to have everything kind of toned down. We're
Hmm.
not going to give you a giant gun. We're not going to let you just run around and kill stuff. You got a stick and eventually a sword.
Yeah, that you can like sort of use sometimes and sometimes you can't. Like yeah, like the management of like the sword and the stick because like the sword is really nice for combat, but you can't use it as a torch and like
Yeah, you
that's
can't do anything. Yeah.
a one thing going back to the story that I really like is that so the whole thing is like to get this girl at the castle and he doesn't know why she's in the castle and you don't really find out why she's in the castle till later. But I like the idea of like even if they escape, like they have no plan B. Like he's a kid. He's like, oh, I just got to protect this girl and we got to get out of the
Yeah.
castle. But
Yep.
like his village wanted to kill him. Like there's nothing for him to go back to. And I like that idea. It's just like a better situation than the one they're currently in, but it's still not a good situation.
Huh. Yeah.
And that kind of goes into Shadow of the Colossus as well, where it's kind of a bad situation
Yeah.
um, that never really rectifies itself. Like there's not really a good ending to these games. I mean, they're like melancholy. Melancholy. These games are melancholy,
Yes, that is a fantastic word.
and I really like that. I hope you get to play Shadow of the Colossus because and actually finish Shadow of the Colossus because there's a lot of neat connections between the two games.
Yeah, I'm probably get to that some point over the next couple of months here after I finish this one up because I do have that as well. So
Hmm. So that was our short talk on eco or ICO. We never really did. I never ended up looking up which was the correct one. So if you liked what you heard, we are the Darksliders podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Darksliders_pod. We are also available on pretty much anything that has podcasts. We're on YouTube. We're on iTunes. We're on Last.fm, SoundCloud, a bunch of stuff. So whatever you listen to us on, you can probably subscribe to us. We'd love to hear some comments back from you guys on what you like, what you didn't like. So yeah, we're the Darksliders podcast. Thanks for listening in.